at that very moment, that was core. I'm choosing Ashley as my romance era.
That is strike 1 and 2 against you still, Chase.
I think that's
You are on thin ice now, my guy. Krongus, Chase.
Two things. One, yes, Krongus. We recorded a whole episode. Audacity said no. We are now looking into different solutions so that this never happens again. At the same time that you were saying that, I was about to start singing Gamers Playing Over an Open Fire.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's way more beautiful than what I said, which is just Krongus, which means nothing.
Yeah, it
really.
was a mistake that I said, and then we sort of lost it at the end of the last episode. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why I got tossed in the dumpy.
Is it an episode if it never sees the light of day?
Maybe not.
It exists in our hearts still.
For better or worse, yeah. It's such a shame. God.
Such a shame. Chase was, for the record, was trying to say Congress,
yes,
as in like the political body.
Yeah.
And fucked it up and said Krongus.
Yeah.
Had real bone energy for everybody in the know about that.
Yeah. It was a mistake and it was funny. Unfortunately, for better or worse, that's sort of like, I feel like a lot of Podtimism's sense of humor is just like a mistake of a word and then like, hey, that's funny.
I mean, Baldur's Gate was one of our biggest jokes for a while.
It's true,
so
yeah.
Not surprised. Although I am excited for some Gate news on Thursday. Have you heard about that?
No.
The Game Awards?
Is there Baldur's Gate stuff happening?
There's going to be an announcement of some sort. I'm hoping for a release date.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'm excited about Baldur's Gate. I bet it's going to be good.
Baldur's Gate 3?
Yeah.
It's Larian, dude. Larian, I've not played a Larian game that I was not pretty fully obsessed and invested in.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Did you ever beat Divinity Original Sin 2?
I sure didn't.
It's a long game.
It was like, I'm having a great time and there is so much in front of me.
It don't end.
Hey, real quick, it's Video Game Podtimism, the Optimist video game variety show where two best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming. Got that one in like 5 seconds. That one felt really fast.
We should start timing you. We need some records here. Speed run it. You like speed running.
I do kind of like speed running. I wish I was better at that. I wish that was like I had one game. Maybe that's what I'll do in 2023. I'll find my game that I speed run, David.
I think you're almost there with Metal Gear Solid 2.
I probably could. No, that's not true. We looked up the records and it's like shockingly low.
Something to aspire to.
Yeah.
You could do it. I believe in you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Anyway, it's video games, man. We're still here. We're talking about him. That's it. Goatee's soon. Goatee is really soon.
Oh, wait, I'm David.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm Chase. Jesus, we didn't even do it. I was so caught up in my own speed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were talking about Sonic.
Yeah. True.
Just 2 episodes ago. I feel like you love the speed in the beginning of the episode.
Yeah, it's because there's so many video games to talk about, and I want to just talk about them now.
Can I throw this out there?
Yeah, please.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Is it the Audacity color scheme as well? Those lines look a little Sonic bluey to me.
That is true. Audacity does have a sort of Sonic undertone to it.
And it's got yellow on the outside. Looks like a ring.
Looks like a ring. Looks like Supersonic to me.
Just throwing it out there. Maybe you've been incepted and you didn't even know.
We start recording in a different software and like this podcast totally changes.
We just never talk about Sonic ever again.
Who?
Hideo Kojima.
Ow.
Who is he?
Yeah. Oh my God. Do you want to go first or should I go first? I don't know why. Usually you just go about the video games.
I mean, if you want to switch it up, if you're feeling like you need to get these video games off your chest.
Kind of.
I'm totally fine with you going first.
A little bit.
Hit me with it. What you been playing, Chase?
Cool. Wow. It's a nice little treat. This happens every now and then, but it always feels like such a treat whenever it happens.
Chase is the ever gentleman, and then every once in a while I pull the reverse gentleman on him.
Yeah, that's nice.
It makes it even more special.
It feels good. It's nice. Nice to be treated. I played some Doom 3, David.
Ooh, why?
Yes. Yeah.
It's my question.
The easy answer is that it was on Game Pass, and I was like, I haven't played Doom 3 since it came out. And it was a very bizarre experience. I played like probably 3 or 4 hours of it, and it was a cool experience. It was very weird. I am a big fan of Doom. I played it on my dad's lap when I was younger. So like I have like this very old parental connection to like the first 2, I think. And I really enjoyed the most recent entries too. The 2016 and then Doom Eternal were both.
They're so good.
They're very good. And having played those recently and also played the other Dooms, the most recent 2 feel very in line with the originals, like Doom 1 and 2 and then 64 to some extent as well. where the game design that they're using in those games feels familiar. It feels like the intention is to make the experience very visceral and fast paced, and to kind of never let you catch your breath, but at the same time, it's fun, not stressful, unless you're playing on like some fucked up difficulty. But it's intended to be like just a very visceral experience, and that's similar to how the first ones were. It was very fast. You can just run really quickly in those ones. And compared to a lot of other shooters, it was a lot more like run and gun, a lot of frenetic sort of gameplay where you're just like kind of sprinting through these levels, and there's like a bunch of, you know, caca demons chasing you or something.
Caca demons? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I think those are the big red guys.
Caca, like poop?
Caco, C-A-C-O demon.
Caco demons. Gotcha.
The big red guys with the teeth and stuff. So like that was the thing. However, this bizarre game, Doom 3, came out, I think in 2004. And man, it feels like Doom was having like kind of an identity crisis in hindsight.
Yeah.
Because the previous entry, I think it was Doom 64 or like the Lost Doom Levels or something like that, Ultimate Doom, one of those things, had come out, I think in like 96 or something. So it had been a while since they had put one out.
Yeah.
And by and large, those games were very similar. Like from the original Doom up through all of the entries previous to Doom 3, they're very similar. Like they're using a similar like palette. Doom 64 is like darker a little bit, but like by and large, it's the same stuff. But this one like really bucked that trend because they were moving into 3D. And I think the biggest thing that happened was that the first person shooter genre is going through this like upheaval of changing from what it was into something new. Like Half-Life 1 came out shortly after the previous Doom entry came out. And this game feels so much like it is just pulling from Half-Life 1. I think
they're like, oh, Half-Life 1 did some spooky stuff, so let's do that too.
Yeah, it was intended to be a little bit scarier. I think the idea of setting it in a place that is kind of driven by this capitalist desire to like get more stuff or more money. In Half-Life, it was the case of like, we've taken science too far. In this one, it's like they're mining on Mars and they've discovered like demons essentially, which like, great. As a concept, I love that.
That's a great idea.
I love that hell is on Mars. That's really, really good. And so like both of those are like thematically feels kind of similar. I think tonally, like the journey of the first hour or so is like you show up on this, I guess like mining area or something. It's like an outpost on Mars. And essentially shit just falls to pieces in a similar way to Half-Life 1, where, you know, you're walking through the science facility as Gordon and like you go into the like test chamber, not the test chamber, but the like big like reactor chamber, shit falls apart. Like they open the rift or whatever. Very similar stuff happens and essentially just brings you into the rest of the game, which is this place is falling apart and we have to either escape or fix it. And like it feels pretty good. Like it's firing on similar cylinders to Half-Life 1, where it sets tone pretty well. It is spooky. I wouldn't say this is scary. I remember it being a lot scarier, and that just could be like it looked better at the time. Like 2004 this is a pretty early game, but it doesn't. I think the shooting doesn't feel as good in comparison to the newer ones, and especially like I think Halo had come out 3 years prior to this.
Oh yeah.
And like I think it took a while for games to kind of catch up to like what was going on there.
Yeah, Halo was like a good 5 years ahead of its time, it felt like.
Yeah. And so I think they're pulling from that too, but it just wasn't really clear how exactly to do that. And so yeah, I think Doom was just looking for a new identity here, and this is where it landed. It's not bad per se, but I think it does feel very different than the other entries. I had talked about this last time we talked about this, but one of the most bizarre things I think on launch was that the flashlight was something you had to equip explicitly in Doom 3 in the original release. It was like a weapon essentially. You had to go into your weapon select or press a button or something and it swapped over to your flashlight. And so a lot of the, I guess, terror of the game was just not being able to see very well. Yeah. Which in parts it does work where the lighting is done well. Like where you can just kind of see the monster that's like lurking in the dark. And in those moments, it's really good, but it's pretty often just so dark that I cannot see anything. And I'm just like, taking damage. Like I can't see a single thing.
You're like, I just can't see things. Otherwise I'd be doing okay.
But the bizarre sort of thing is that in this version, it must have been some sort of updated version of Doom 3, but I phrased that weird. In Doom 3. But you don't have to equip it in this one. It is just a thing that you can use. It has like a battery on it, but it refills incredibly quickly. And so it's not nearly as challenging to see the enemies. I'm sort of mixed on whether or not that like takes away from the design of the game, because I would say that it's like frustrating to have to equip your flashlight. And at the time, even I remember playing it and being like, I don't think I like that very much, but I also remember it being much scarier. And so I wonder if that was still the case, if it would still be quite as intimidating, but it was a lot easier to play through in this case. I didn't die very much, and I remember dying a lot in the first time I played it. So
sure,
I do wonder if that's sort of the difference.
I would think so. Yeah,
it's bizarre. I think like if you don't have the history with Doom, or like have an enjoyment of the other ones, or even if you do, it's an interesting play, because like it's not like the other ones. Like it would be as if The Godfather turned into an anime in part 2 or something.
Whoa! Don't give anybody any ideas, Chase.
Dude, I would watch the anime rendition of The Godfather. Are you kidding? Please. I would watch the shit out of that. Oh my God.
All right, animators. I don't even know who you would contact for that.
Can you imagine if Studio Ghibli dropped the fucking Godfather? All 9 hours of it?
1, 2, and 3 all together? Mm-hmm. Damn.
The whole thing.
I mean, if Ghibli's doing it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is this a Ghibli joint? I'll watch that one.
This is a Ghibli joint. It's ridiculous.
Anyway, so an interesting game. I like, if somebody told me, hey, my favorite Doom is Doom 3, I'd be like, sure. But I would also sort of expect them to say the other ones aren't as good to me.
I would expect them to explain themselves, right?
Yeah, like I get it, right? Like it is doing very different stuff than the other ones. And so I would sort of expect somebody to be like, no, the other ones are too like actiony. I like this one better.
Because was the next Doom after Doom 3, Doom 2020?
2016. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Doom 2016. Which is wild.
A long ass time.
It's a long time, yeah. It's very strange.
They just didn't know what to do with Doom for a while. They're just like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a number of like kind of re-releases of Doom. And I think this is the one that's on Game Pass, is the
BFG edition.
Of course.
That came out in 2012, which so far as I can tell is mostly just a kind of an up-res. And so they've changed a number of things, the flashlight, I think, being one of them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, 2016 was the one after that. So there was a 12-year gap between like main entries in this.
Wow.
Which is nuts. That's a long time.
That's a long ass time.
And it really, I think it really shows that they took a while to be like, okay, let's try and figure this out. And it makes sense. There was so much going on in first-person shooters at the time that like, I feel like it would be so hard to even keep up with how quickly things were moving between like 2004 and 2010. Mm-hmm. I feel like there was so much shooter stuff happening in there, and like some of it good, some of it kind of just the same Call of Duty every year, but like eventually kind of settled. And I think 2016 was a really good time to strike for that. Of like, okay, things have like mostly calmed down. We've got like a number of pretty good shooter games. Let's try and figure out like what made this series special. I mean, they could have just put out another iteration of Doom 3, right? Like Doom 4 could have been another version of that. But I'm personally glad that they chose to return to the other formula, because I do think it works really well.
It's a breath of fresh air in the FPS genre, those new ones.
Yeah, that's true.
There aren't many that run around and shoot as much as possible.
Gotta go fast.
And it rewards that. Gotta go fast. Sonic rears his head again. Have you been playing Sonic Frontiers, Chase?
I thought about it. I wanted to come on here and say some just obscene shit about Sonic, but I couldn't justify it. Like,
I want you to get deep into Sonic lore. That's what I want to see.
That's probably an episode at some point.
Yeah. Somewhere down the line.
So I've also been playing another strange entry, David, which is Cyberpunk 2077, of course.
Beautiful.
For anybody whose first episode, this is not normally the kind of games that I bring. I feel like this is a real like Dorito crusted version of the games that I usually play.
Dorito crusted version.
And yeah, so like I promise I'll hit you with some indie games next week or something.
Yeah, this is Chase's turn to the dark side right now.
Yeah, real kind of typical gamer. Mm-hmm. So I've been playing Cyberpunk. I suspect a lot of people who are listening to this will have this context of what this game is, just because it was so gigantic and hyped in 2020, which feels like a wild amount of time for this game to have been out for.
Does not feel like it's been out for 2 years.
No, December of 2020, no less. So it's almost exactly 2 years. This was, I'll give it a little bit just in case anybody doesn't have the full thing, but like this was the most recent game by CD Projekt Red, which is like a big old game company. They had done all the Witcher games. And I think it built like kind of a lot of good faith from the internet, which can be kind of it can be kind of a curse in a certain way.
Absolutely. If you mess up once, then you become the pariah.
Yeah. And like, damn, did they do that?
They messed up pretty bad.
Yeah. It's, I don't want to dogpile on this game too much. Like, I think the internet has done that enough, but like, I think the long and short of it was the game was just really not ready yet. At least to the standards of like, you know, a lot of other games that are coming out at the time. It felt like there was a lot missing. And I think that is evidenced by how cohesive this playthrough that I've been doing has felt. It feels way more done and ready. And like, I'm playing this on the PlayStation 5 and like, it runs great. It looks great. There are like people on the street. I don't know why the last time I played it, but that felt like such a big deal that like, there's nobody out here. It's like one guy every now and then.
Yeah. That's not immersive.
No,
that's not what they promised, right?
Like on launch, it very frequently was reminding me like, hey, this is a video game.
Yes.
You know, with all the crashes and the performance issues and everybody T-posing all the time and shit. Like it wasn't the experience that I was hoping for. And like, I will say that I am not one of the people who was expecting this to be like the second coming of God that it seemed like some of the internet thought this game was going to be. Again, I hesitate to open the can of worms of crusading against the internet's high hopes, but like, goddamn, I think by it being the follow-up to The Witcher, them recruiting Keanu, like it was just hitting on like every internet thing.
It was definitely felt like they were purposefully baiting along the internet. Especially with the Keanu thing.
Yeah. And it's very bizarre because like having played a lot more of it now, it's not like this game is like I said, the second coming of God. It's like, it's a video game, you know, like it feels to me in the good moments, like a very good combination of like Deus Ex, Human Revolution, and like kind of a GTA thing, and like a little bit of some of the open world stuff that you get from like an Ubisoft game, right? Like that's not necessarily a groundbreaking formula. I would say like Elden Ring or Breath of the Wild like had a much bigger splash as far as like new ideas. I think just people were expecting it to be just like perfection of all of those things, you know, and it's not that. Even in the experience that it is now, it's not that. It's I am enjoying the game quite a bit, but like it's not the end all be all. So anyway, about the video game outside of the context, like I'm enjoying it. Like I said, it reminds me of Deus Ex, which is a game that I really, really liked I think that one came out in like 2011 or something like that.
Human Revolution, is that the one?
Yeah, that's the first of the like newer two. And I really liked that game. It's bizarre that it didn't have much more of an influence. I feel like I don't hear a lot about Deus Ex.
That's a good one.
It was good. I liked it. And I think the parts about it that I liked were that in any situation or mission or side mission that you went into, it felt like there was a lot of different ways to do it. And because in Deus Ex, there were all these options of like character customization and like skill customization, it felt closer to like an immersive sim, sort of like Prey or Dishonored, or to some extent, oh God, what was the like time loop game? Deathloop? Kind of similar to Deathloop in that way. Deathloop is another can of worms, but like an immersive sim, right? Where you have a lot of different ways to approach a different situation. And the good parts of this game to me, or at least the parts that I'm really enjoying, are those parts where it's like, hey, I've got a side mission. There is a document or something in this building full of like gang members that I need to go steal. And there's so many different ways to do that, right? Like you could just run in there, shoot everybody and take it. Or you can try and like hack your way in, or turn off the cameras, or sneak around and like have nobody see you. Or if you've got like, you know, cybernetic legs, you can jump onto the roof and enter through like the skylight. Or something.
You do like
that.
your cybernetic legs, don't you?
I do. I like going in the weird way. And so like, I like that. I like when there's a number of different ways you can play the game, and the game rewards you for doing any of those. Like this game is similar to parts of Skyrim, where like the more you do a certain kind of action, the higher that skill goes, which ends up allowing you to level up too. So like if you hack a lot, then your hacking skill will go up, or if you sneak around, then your sneaking skills will go up and stuff like that. That
always makes the most sense to me.
Right? Like that it feels good, and the game is giving you little rewards for playing the game how you like to play it. Great.
Yeah,
perfect.
I'm so surprised that more games don't do it that way.
Yeah, it is surprising that isn't a more common experience, because like,
that's how I gain experience in the real world is by doing things. Yeah. Right? Not like getting this currency to then spend
on a skill point that makes you jump 3% higher. Yeah,
exactly. Right.
And so that part of it, I think, is really fun. I think also the world building in this is just really great. I think that the cohesion, the sense that like this game is not, just a video game that is constantly blowing up aids to that a lot. Like, it looks really good. I think when it's running on the PS5 in like performance mode, it's really smooth. And like, it's also really not afraid to use color in a way that I really appreciate. I feel like so many of these like open world games are just kind of like different shades of gray and brown. And this game is like very bright, and the color palette's really like bold, which I really enjoy. I think visually it's a very stunning game. Yeah. Which is really cool. It obviously, it takes place in Night City, which is this like kind of futuristic, terrible place where corporations own everything, like
corporate hellscape.
Yeah. And that leads to a whole, can of worms with the story and the narrative and all that sort of stuff. I'm very mixed on the story. So I mentioned this last time, but the game does this very strange buildup in the first 5 hours where you go through like a very lengthy tutorial and a lot of cutscenes and a lot of like intro with your chosen character like background. Like, you can either be like a corporate worker or a nomad or a street kid or anything like that. And it leads you through these tutorials. And anyway, you end up joining up with Jackie Wells, this character, and doing a heist, right? Like, that is the conclusion of the tutorial, which lasts a while. I remember this being many, many hours of working through the game and getting through it. And like, I'll say it's doing fine in those moments, but it is, I would consider, kind of slow. It's really not letting you off the reins at all, in the way that when I'm playing Skyrim, I can just sort of like wander immediately after fighting the big dragon in the beginning. You can go in any direction in that game. The giants might kick your ass if you walk into one of their like camps.
Send you into the stratosphere even.
Yeah, knock you into space. But like, it's an option available to you. And I think that like that's the part of those open world games that really appeals to me, when the game just says, here's this incredible space, go find what you like to do in it. And Cyberpunk does eventually do that. It just takes a while to get there. And so it's the foot that it is putting forth is this kind of like character driven story, which I think it does work there too, but it's very weird that it tries to do that. And then 6 hours later, put another foot forward, and like, it kind of resets in a certain sense. I can't go into like super spoiler reasons in case somebody like really doesn't want to get spoiled here, but like, for one reason or another, Jackie is no longer available to hang out with you. And it sort of feels like they like ripped that out of your hand a little bit while they've been building it up themselves. It's very bizarre. And you kind of have to like restart and reintroduce a bunch of characters. And not to mention, this is also the moment in time where you are presented with Johnny Silverhand, the biggest turd in Night City. I talked about this when we recorded last time, and I will say it again. God damn, I do not like Johnny Silverhand. No, I do not like this Johnny.
Are you going to do like a Dr. Seuss right now?
I felt like I was going that direction.
You were going that direction.
I do not like this Johnny Silverhand. I do not like him and his plan. He does have a plan. That is true.
I do not like his silly hand. I miss my right hand, Jackie Wells. Jackie Wells.
Yeah, so this is very weird. So like, this person, Johnny Silverhand, is like a character in Cyberpunk, the original like tabletop game.
This was a tabletop game first?
It was a tabletop game, yeah.
Whoa, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a bit older too. I think this is like a kind of a more classic tabletop game.
I had no idea. Wow.
It's pulling a lot from that too. Like, a lot of the like proper nouns involved are very similar.
Like Choomba?
Yeah, yes. How do you know that?
I'll tell you later.
Whoa, David. Anyway, so they introduce this dude, and like, he is a character, but God, I just can't fucking stand the guy. He is, I think intentionally, the game knows this, he's intentionally kind of an asshole. And he's saying stuff that I agree with. He is a very anti-capitalist dude, and I think the whole game is, in a certain sense. At least the veneer that it has, but man, is he just a turd. He's like constantly shit talking you as V. Yeah. He's talking about how big his hog is all the time, which like sucks. I think in the original tabletop game, there was a class called a rocker, which is a fine thing in a tabletop game that like kind of makes sense contextually. But like, man, is it so bad when they call Johnny a rocker because he used to be a musician? Like, it feels so bad.
A big time rocker.
It sucks. Point being, I don't like Johnny. I think the game, part of the arc of the story is kind of coming to terms with him, but it's so tough. And I think like, it makes what is already a very male-centric game even more male-centric.
Sure, yeah.
I was playing this around Em the other day. She's like, man, I can't wait for Keanu's big adventure to be over, because she refuses to learn the word cyberpunk, which is understandable. But B,
fair enough.
It's just such a male-centered game. Like I think there is so much unexamined violence and a lot of nudity, and I think Keanu or Johnny really adds to that. Like, he's just kind of this shitty dude who's hanging around you the whole time, and from time to time will pop up and be like, "Who's this asshole?" It's like, God, Johnny, stop! Like,
yeah,
I want to make my own decisions here.
Just being a turd.
Yeah, and so anyway, point being about all this stuff is that it feels like the game had two beginnings. Like, there was the intro with Jackie, and then it started over with the intro with Johnny.
It's like, this is the real game now.
It sort of felt like they were like running with this thread, and then Keanu called them back and said, like, yes, I'll be in your game. And they're like, oh my God, we got to change everything. And so it's very bizarre. The way that I started playing this game this time was that I had just started where my save was left off from the last time I was playing. Which is really nice because I didn't have to do that intro again. And not that That's I don't nice. Like it's not that I don't like Jackie, but like I like when the game just says like, all right, go do it, go hang out. And I was immediately able to do that.
Chase, I know this is the public facing forum we have right now, but you can say if you like Johnny Silverhand better than Jackie Wells. That's fine. This is a safe space for that.
I so don't. Johnny sucks, David.
You got to skip over the whole part with Jackie, and you said that's a good thing.
It's just suspect.
This is sus.
It is such a long intro. And like, especially having played the game, a lot of it is just teaching you how to do it. Like, okay, we're going to sneak past the bad guys. But if you're quiet, you can grab them. And it's like, I totally get it. I have played a video game before. I know what's happening here.
It's just like, so we're playing a video game, right?
Yeah. You press X to jump. I get it.
Excuse me. I didn't realize this was a game.
And so like, I think that's what drove it home to me, because like it felt like a totally serviceable beginning to the game to just start where I was starting from. I kind of didn't need the rest of it. And so it felt very, very weird to do that and feel fine.
That is strange.
I think like overall, this game's story is, like I said, very anti-capitalist. And I think it's just constantly presenting you with people who have gotten fucked by this system, who are sympathetic people, right? Like, either people who have turned to crime and like that's their way of coping with living under this like version of society, people who didn't cope with it at all and have turned to either like using drugs or violence or like gang violence or anything like that. Yep. You see it constantly. It is just a ever-present part of the game, is the feeling that like this world has been destroyed by capitalist greed. And you also, on the other hand, see people who are benefiting from that, like just wildly rich people. Especially if you start in the corpo like background, which is really interesting. Like you really see it, which is it's interesting to have both. It's not just like this total apocalyptic hellscape where everything has been destroyed. It's like, no, there's still people who are living great, and that almost sucks worse.
Were you a corpo?
I started a corpo. Yeah, I also started this game in 2020, which if that adds to the context. And so I think that part of it is like, that is commentary in itself, right? Is saying, this is how the world is, and look at how bad it is. But I sort of wish that they would say it a little bit more with their chest. Like this game obviously reminds me a lot of GTA. Like I think there's a lot of common DNA in there. And I feel like GTA really, with the exception of GTA 4, which is a really good game, most of those games sort of have this veneer, like they're saying something profound, or like that they're really like sticking it to society. And I don't think that they're really doing that. I think that they're like satirizing it in a way that is like, look at how ridiculous it is to live in modern society, right? Like,
it's like, don't corporations suck, but like buy our shark cards, please.
Yeah, like it feels like that, where they are showing you how absurd it is, right? Like if you listen to the radio in GTA, or if you see the billboards or the ads, or how terrible everybody treats each other and shit like that, it is a world that is just rooted in this like pessimistic and nihilist take on like humans and society and everything. And like, that's part of it, right? Like that's what a lot of like crime movies are. It's a very nihilistic take. It's all kind of like, shit's fucked and that's it. And you got to get your bag or whatever. But I feel like GTA, at least GTA 5 being kind of fresh in my memory, is like, it sort of felt like it was trying to say something, but I just don't know that it really ever did that. Again, GTA 4, you're my beautiful child. You can sit over there. GTA 4 had some shit to say, and I really liked it.
This is the Gordon Ramsay meme with GTA 4 and GTA 5.
Pretty much, man. Yeah, GTA 5 is a fucking donkey. Like it was so interested in its own mechanics and like showing you how to play tennis that like it never really got off the ground as far as like what it was saying.
Mark Zuckerberg's head or whatever it was.
Exactly. It's perfect. Yeah, perfect level in that one of like what is the point? Is it just saying like tech CEO's bad? Because like yeah, but like show that to me.
Yeah.
I've been listening to shout out Eye of the Duck podcast. They've been talking about all of George Romero's like Dawn of the Dead movies, and just all of the Dead, I should say. And like in all of those movies, that at least the dudes on Eye of the Duck were saying that like Romero is just like ruthlessly criticizing American society, just constantly blow after blow, like showing you how kind of like fucked it is, but it is not in a way that is like toothless. They have something to say, right? Like, and a lot of them are rooted in like the time that they came out, right? Like I think Dawn of the Dead came out in 1968 or something like that.
That's a good movie.
So it's a very good movie. It's got a lot to say, right? Like a
Says
lot of
stuff, yeah.
It's very concerned with like Vietnam and like race relations and shit like that.
Oh yeah.
It is George Romero had some weird shit to say about like, I didn't intentionally make like the black guy the big sort of hero of it, but like, god damn, man, it is a weird coincidence that that's how the story played out.
Yeah.
And like it's intentional. It is intentional that like it is playing on like race expectations, especially for 1968, which was like such a brutal year in American history. And it's no like I don't think it's a mistake that he's like the first or the guy in the end of the movie to be shot by the police, right?
Yeah.
And so like those movies are just so ruthlessly criticizing. And something that I the Duck brought up was that they talked about 2004's Dawn of the Dead, the Snyder and Gunn movie.
Yeah, sure.
And like how they're using a similar context, like the foreground is very similar, right? Like it's about zombies and like people surviving zombies and stuff like that. But like the movie just kind of seems interested in being like, aren't like killing zombies cool? And like guns are sick and explosions and stuff like that.
Yeah. Without
really saying stuff, but it feels similar. Like it feels like they're trying to say something. And especially at the end of that one, when like the main cast is like, hey, we got out, and then they just all get like brutally killed on like a boat or something. It felt like the takeaway there was like shit's fucked, right? Like what is the point, right? Like I think it's a fun movie to watch, but it in a similar way to kind of how I was feeling about GTA 5, like that movie felt similar of like what are you saying? It feels like there's something that is trying to be said here, but it ends up kind of just being like, yeah, it's all fucked. Like what? Say it with your chest, like there have been so many games this year that are set in like this kind of corporate hellscape. Like Citizen Sleeper comes up in a lot of discussions about this. Hard Space Shipbreaker was a game that I loved.
That's the one that comes to my mind.
Yeah, and like in Citizen Sleeper, like you're trying to figure out like how to live in this like space station in a world that is again like very uncaring for who you are or like what you've been through or like how you got here. It's just like you kind of got to survive. And not to mention like all these questions that they put forth about like, who owns you? Who does your body belong to? All that sort of stuff. But the YouTuber Matt Horton, friend of the show, has a very good YouTube video about Citizen Sleeper, which you should watch. You should go check that out if you're interested in any of that.
Sure.
Yeah. In the same way, like Hard Space Shipbreaker puts you in this like terrible job that is just awful. The working conditions are terrible. You get like a middle manager that is just awful. And like I think until the end of the game, it's just like, wow, this is brutal. But at the very end of it, there is this very pointed scene where you can very explicitly see what is being said. It's a lot about collective action. It's a lot about unionization and shit like that. Or even something like Final Fantasy VII, right? Where like living in Midgard is fucking hell. And, but because the game is like so optimistic and the characters in it, and especially the members of Avalanche, are so optimistic and like fighting against this system, it feels like this kind of like radical version of hope or optimism that they're displaying in an otherwise like very brutal world. And when I come back to looking at Cyberpunk, it's just sort of like, isn't it fucked? Like, yes, I agree. It is fucked. And Johnny knows it's fucked too. And he's trying to burn the system down. But like I want them to dig into it because they've built such a good world, such a believable, like kind of not post-apocalypse, but terrible capitalist place that like, do it, sell it. Like, give me the commentary other than just it's bad. Isn't it bad when corporations do this? So I don't know. It's like the game part of this game is very enjoyable. And I also am enjoying doing all these side missions. I realized that I've been mainlining the main quest because I didn't know how to use the map properly.
Yeah.
when I last time I played, I unfiltered everything and just filtered for main missions. And so whenever I pulled up the map, I'm like, I guess this is just what I'm doing.
Guess just doing the missions. Here we go.
And then when I went back and looked, I'm like, oh shit, no wonder I feel under leveled. Like there's so much other stuff that I need to be doing. So was able to do that. And it's very fun. I'm enjoying all that. But I think if you're looking for like the biting sort of commentary that a lot of other games this year especially have done really well, it's not necessarily present here. And maybe that'll change in the last 11th hour of the game, but they haven't been building to that, if that's what's going to happen. So anyway, a very mixed experience, I'll say, about this game.
Sure.
The video game part of it, fun, but the rest of it, like,
Yeah.
Anyway, David, one more game. It's quick.
One more. Okay, let's hear it.
I've been playing Need for Speed Unbound, David.
Is that the new one?
This is the new Need for Speed game.
Okay.
That like just kind of came out of nowhere. I had read nothing about this. I barely knew that it was coming out. Somebody on Twitter was like, hey, why is nobody talking about this game? And like EA themselves, I didn't see a lot of stuff about this game. I didn't see a lot of like marketing or ads or it's also built by Criterion of Burnout fame. Yeah. And so like I found all that information, I guess through Twitter after it launched. And I was like, hey, that sounds cool. It's also on Game Pass, or sort of. You have a 10-hour free trial of this game on Game Pass. It's a long time.
That's a lot of game.
And so like I suspect if I have gotten to the end of 10 hours and I'm like, yes, I would like to play more, the game has earned its money at that point.
True enough.
Anyway, it's a racing game, and it's kind of like a lot of other Need for Speed games. You do street racing and you will eventually need to evade the police. Reminds me of Most Wanted, the Need for Speed Most Wanted that came out on Xbox.
Way back in the day now.
Yeah. I think that was a 360 title. And the racing itself reminds me a lot of Underground, oddly enough. There is a similar kind of arcadey feel to the racing. It is not the simulation game that we've seen a lot of. Like even Forza Horizon is still kind of a simulation racing game. It's ridiculous and over the top and you can get away with a lot of shit. But this game is very much like, no, just drift. You got to drift everywhere.
Here's the drift button.
Yeah. I think the most immediately notable thing about this game is its visual style. It's got this very interesting kind of animated graphical style that ends up looking really cool. Essentially, whenever you do something very neat, like you go off a jump or something, there's these little doodles that'll pop up on or around your car. They look like hand-drawn doodles. If you're in the air, you get little wings around your car. Or if you're doing a drift, it's starting to spit out animated smoke from your tires and shit like that. It looks very
stylish.
Cool. It's very stylish. It reminds me of this game for PS2 called Auto Modelista, which was this cel-shaded racing game.
Oh, yeah.
It was really good. It was a very solid game. But that one's really over the top, very cel-shaded. Looks like Wind Waker at that point.
Sure.
This one is not nearly as heavy with its cel shading. It's kind of like a light touch sort of thing, where if you just see the car or the street, it looks pretty realistic. There's very real shadows and the cars all look pretty real. But when it's moving really quickly, when you're racing, it kind of blurs the line a little bit to where it's a little bit of hand-drawn stuff. The brake lights and all the lights coming off of your car look a little bit more cel-shaded. And the characters themselves, they're also very, very cel-shaded. They're that reminds me a lot more of Jet Set Radio and the way that the characters are kind of different than the world that Need for Speed is showing. Very stylized and cartoony, which I think is cool. I think it's a very cool stylistic choice. So yeah, I think visually it's a very interesting game. I haven't really seen something done like that before.
Yeah.
And the racing is good. I'm enjoying the racing, right? I think if you have played one of the older Need for Speed games, you will feel at home with this.
Does it feel more Need for Speedy or Burnouty?
I think that you can feel both in there. I think the actual racing, the feeling of the cars feels Need for Speed but when you crash, it feels like a Burnout game. Where you really, really crash and your car gets pretty fucked up.
Things go nuts.
And so I think you can feel either of those. It ends up feeling pretty good to me. A lot of the races are pretty short. You get maybe a handful of minutes is how many any individual race will be. And so I think what the game is encouraging players to do is do a race and do it almost perfect. Do it really, really well. it also makes that more explicit by you don't have like a rewind like in any of the other more modern like simulation games, which honestly is kind of a tough like update. I forgot that we didn't always do that.
You're like, wait, no, I want to do that again.
I would like to rewind that last turn.
Hold on, sir.
But because it's a lot shorter, you don't necessarily have to, right? Like you've only been racing for a minute or something. And the game gives you a certain allotted amount of retries for any level. And so I think it's kind of intentionally being like, you should do these until it feels about right, which is cool. I think that's a cool idea. And like they're doing it at the macro level rather than the micro level. Like Forza does it in the micro level where you just immediately do that turn again. Whereas this one is like, we're trying to encourage you to do a really good lap or something like that.
That's interesting that Sims and arcade games swapped there, because also that's the same how it was for Hot Wheels Unleashed. You can't rewind, you just got to go. Right? I
think the chaos is part of it, right? Like I think
absolutely that's part of the game.
Getting in collisions, and like it's definitely a game where like you need to be hitting the NOS all the time. It's one of those games. If you're doing like racing in oncoming traffic or drafting, you're building up NOS kind of slowly, and so like you really should be using that as often as you can. Not to mention a very easy way to stop yourself from like sliding around is to just hit NOS. For whatever reason, that will straighten you right out. And so like
you said racing into oncoming traffic to build NOS, and I just got transported back to Burnout 3. So
yeah,
good.
Exactly. It's very good. I think it is. Speaking of Doom, it's a very more in the line of Doom of like, we were trying to make this race as intense as possible, not because you have to be very precise with your movements and your braking, but like you can barely see oncoming traffic until it is right up on you and you are going 150 miles per hour. It also does the thing where you kind of get like Metroided, where it starts you in a really nice car and then some shit goes down and
Metroided.
And you lose all your cool car stuff.
Yeah,
you have to restart, which I was happy about. Like I like the parts of racing games where you start
like
in terrible
the shitty cars.
I love the shitty cars. I bought a Civic in the game. I was like, yes, perfect. I love that. And so it's good. And not to mention it's very bizarre, but the story is not bad. I don't know that it's capital S saying something, but like it's fun. Like like I said, you are working for this guy named I think it's Rydell, Rydell's Rides, and he owns like a shop, essentially a car shop, and he like fixes cars for people. And in the initial part of the game, you're racing with this other friend of yours, and she like kind of is being kind of shady eventually about like, hey, I want to like try racing with other people. And I guess spoilers would be the first hour of this game, but she kind of fucks it up, and a bunch of people come into Rydell's place and steal all of his cars, your car included. And like you aren't able to get back into the underground racing scene because you don't have cars, and the recently elected mayor has cracked down on street racing.
Classic. Got some Footloose energy in there too.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it skips 2 years into the future after that point, and you kind of have to like build up from these terrible cars because like the underground street scene is coming back, and your old friend has your old car. She essentially stole it.
Gotcha.
So you're like it's a goofy story, and like I don't think they're gonna be saying something profound, but like it's not bad. I'm enjoying it. Like anytime somebody comes on the radio to talk to me, I'm like, oh, well, what's going on? I hope some hot shit's going down. So it's interesting.
Then all the cars dance with each other in front of the mayor at the end of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, everybody, go fast. Hit the gas.
That was pretty good.
Thank you. So yeah, I feel like this is the most fun, or at least the most compelled I have felt to play a Need for Speed game in a long time. I like really enjoyed them for a while. I think the first few were great. I loved Most Wanted. And obviously Underground was like a very big deal. And I enjoy those games quite a bit too. So it's fun. I'm really enjoying it. I think it is a great turn your brain off and race kind of game. In a sense, it is also really intense and like kind of fucking hard too. Like it's not easy to win the races. I really have to focus to like, okay, my brain might be off, but I really got to focus on reacting and like making sure I don't just slam into a car on oncoming traffic, because it will slow you down a lot. Like the game like resets you and like people just come flying by you. So it's not easy. Anyway, I'm enjoying it. It's a good game.
Solid.
David, what have you been playing? Video games.
I have been playing God of War still. I beat it.
Yeah, you beat it.
I don't want to say much about the story for spoilers, But it was a good story. I enjoyed the ending. It's cathartic, I thought. Good wrap up to everything with the Norse stories.
Yeah.
And I will say one other thing is that I got all the ravens, and that felt pretty good.
Wow.
I did not get anywhere close to that in the first game.
Capital
but I found
G
all those pesky
gamer.
little bastards. It was good.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier in this one, I think. They were easier to find. But there were some that were little sneaky birds.
It is fun. I like the way that they did collectibles in this one because they marked them on the map of like, you have not gotten a raven here, which is nice.
Yeah, I appreciate that because I don't want to have to just traipse around everywhere. I don't got time for that. Just tell me where it is and I'll just go hit it. Then we're good. But really enjoyed that game.
Yeah.
I have also been playing Cyberpunk.
Oh my God. I can't believe this.
So yeah, I watched the Cyberpunk Edge Runners on Netflix.
Oh yeah, nice. I heard it was good.
I enjoyed it. You were talking about how the game is just saying like, hey, things fucking suck. That's kind of the end takeaway from the anime, but it was still fun to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to visit Night City for the first time after watching that. So loaded up. There's a free trial on PlayStation right now for 5 hours. Not nearly as girthy as that Need for Speed.
10 hours.
10 hours.
Insane.
Man, that's a lot. But no, it's fun. I really I enjoy the my experience is different than yours because I didn't play it when it first came out, so I didn't experience all the bugs. I'm having a good time with it. Yeah, the city seems alive and vibrant. It's not like packed with people in a lot of places, but there's definitely some areas that are more dense than others.
It makes sense where people are, right? Like, there's more people here. That checks out.
Yeah, it's like there's more people milling about like in like essentially the low income housing area as opposed to like in the corpo area where there's just like a big square and everyone's just like in their office building or some shit. So no, it's fun. It works. I haven't encountered any bugs or glitches or things that seem weird that take me out of the experience.
Yeah.
The gameplay is fine so far. I'm not like super enamored with the gunplay personally.
Yeah.
But it's serviceable, and I don't think that, similar to The Witcher, that's not necessarily why you're playing this game is for the combat. You're playing it for the story and the quality of the side missions and stuff like that. And that's, I think, really what people expected from a CD Projekt Red game more than anything else. And also just options of how to interact and do things in the game. Yeah. And I think so far it's doing that for me. I think it looks pretty good. I like that I have the option to do ray tracing on my PS5. Yeah. I don't think that ray tracing is better than 60 frames per second for me. 60 frames makes it feel much more like a next gen experience than a higher resolution or graphical fidelity for me. But man, it does run pretty smooth at 60. It's hitting that. It's hitting that sweet spot. I've had like no slowdown or anything like that, which is really nice. So I'm really enjoying this game so far. Don't have too much to say. I'm only like an hour or so in, so I'm still like knee deep in just all of the tutorial essentially. So that's a fun one. I'm looking forward to playing that more. We'll see if it grabs me enough to throw down the cash for the full game. It's only $50. It's not crazy. And I've also, after playing God of War, I was thinking, I want to hurt a little bit more.
Okay. All right.
I want a little bit more pain. After beating some bosses at the end there, I'm like, I need more of a challenge.
So you're playing Max Payne, David.
I'm playing Dark Souls Remastered.
Oh, wow. The OG.
The OG Remastered.
Have you played this one before?
I played Dark Souls way back in the day when it first came out. I got it off Game Pass. Not Game Pass. Gamefly.
Gamefly, yeah.
Gamefly. The original Game Pass.
It's kind of true.
Yeah, I mean, physical edition Game Pass. Gamefly. Yeah. So I bought this game and I got past like the first level, the tutorial level, and I'm like, this game is too fucking hard, and sent it back. I was not ready for Dark Souls back then.
No, I had a similar experience where I don't know if I bought it or rented it. I may have had a similar kind of deal. Yeah, I did not get very far. And like, I remember putting a lot of time into it. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if that's like kind of a common experience, because I feel like I talk to a lot of people who their first Souls game didn't click.
I didn't understand how to play it. I didn't understand how to level up or what to do, or like the bonfires. There was a lot of text that I didn't really read thoroughly. It was all very confusing because it was such a new way of doing
it's a very different game design.
Action game, right? Third-person action RPG. Now that I'm bloodied, I'm ready for it. And after a couple of the bosses at the end there that kind of challenged me in God of War, but not like all the way that I really wanted to be, I'm like, okay, it's time to do this. Because I bought this game on sale a couple months back, probably.
Sure.
Maybe more than that. And I've just been kind of sitting on it for a while until the fancy hit me. Mm-hmm. And the fancy hit me finally. It was time to do it. Time to jump in. And really enjoying it. It's great.
It's a good game. Shocking.
It's a lot of fun. It is. Yeah. It is Dark Souls. It is like a baby version of Elden Ring, much more condensed, but still deep and satisfying. And the core gameplay elements are there. Mm-hmm. I'm having a thoroughly good time. I just got my ass kicked by some gargoyles.
My god, dude, the gargoyles are fucked. That's a tough fight.
I was kicking that first gargoyle's ass, and the other guy's just like, all right, time for me to come, and now we're both going to start spewing fire everywhere and don't fall off the top. So that was a little frustrating, because I was also carrying like 2,000 souls at the time, and I fucked it up. I should have gone back to the bonfire and just done it again. But now I got to beat them.
That is FromSoft, David.
The only option is to beat them, otherwise I'm losing those 2,000 souls. So just gotta get good, as they say.
It's a fun game. I like Dark Souls 1 a lot. It does hold up. I think like visually it's not incredible. It's not nearly as like pretty as like Elden Ring or even Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
But like the game is there. Like the core part of like how the combat works and like how satisfying a lot of that stuff is like rock solidly there.
Dodging feels good.
It's great. Yeah.
The combat feels good. The blocking is good, right? Everything feels and reacts as it you want it to, right? For a satisfying experience. It never feels like you're in a position where you feel like you should do something and it doesn't happen. It's more just I'm out of position and I got hit. I wasn't facing the right direction. I
fucked up. Yeah.
Cued an attack when I shouldn't have touched anything because I was just spamming. It really hammers you for spamming after you roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does not like that. So it teaches you quick that this is a precision game, which is fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. The bosses are good. Still a great game.
It's very cool. I like the world in that one quite a bit. Like the lore is really good, but I really appreciate how the literal levels are laid out. The game is just like wildly interconnected in ways that are like so much fun to, be going down a path and it's like, man, I haven't seen a bonfire in a long time.
Yep.
You open up a door and it's like a place that you were 30 minutes ago. You've just like looped around somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely did to me. I was in Undeadburg. And then I came around the other side to that bonfire I was at in the beginning. I'm like, how did I get here? How did this happen? But it happened.
It's really great. I love those moments, and they happen all throughout the game. So I think like that's a very cool part of it.
No, it is great.
Video games.
I was just gonna say one other quick thing, or two other quick things about Cyberpunk. The original Cyberpunk game, released in 1988, a tabletop game, was Cyberpunk 2013. The sequel was Cyberpunk 2020.
Wow. They came out in 2020. Yeah, they did know something.
Also, the originator of the cyberpunk world, Mike Pondsmith, is a alum of UC Davis. So I think Emily Alice needs to rethink her position on the game.
Yeah.
Because she's got to support her fellow Aggie.
Go Ags. Maybe it is a game that she'll know the words to. And say the phrase cyberpunk out loud, which like, yes, I get it. It's cringy to say the phrase cyberpunk. I agree. But like, it's an okay video game.
I mean, just listen to, his he had a dual degree in graphic design and behavioral psychology. Sounds pretty cringy.
Yeah, man.
in a way to me.
Hey,
sorry, anyone who's a dual major in graphic design and behavioral psychology.
I would prefer to be cringy than pessimistic, David. Listen, I'm cringe every day of my life, David. Happens all the time.
You're cringe every day of your life? That's not true.
Oh, man. Oh, come on, dude. Come on, dude. That's just
how are you cringy today? Let's hear it.
Today, I put my dog in a pink hoodie and drove her over to a dog bar to hang out with other pugs, and she played, and it was a very good part of my day.
Bro, that's just cool.
See, one man's cool is another man's cringe, David.
Oh, okay, if you're going to play that card, then yet everyone in the world is cringe.
That's what I'm getting at, man.
Everyone's cringy? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying we don't got to worry about being weird. Just be weird. And
I'm still going to fight against the fact that what you did was not weird.
It's goofy.
I'm fighting you on this one.
It's goofy. Is it
goofy to love a dog?
A little.
Love an animal?
A little bit, yeah. It's great.
Fair enough.
David, do you have something fueling your sense of optimism this week?
Yes, it's a deep character creator system.
Oh, yeah. Man, the one in Cyberpunk has a lot of shit going on in there.
Cyberpunk and Dark Souls.
True.
Both of them.
You can make a real orcish creature in Dark Souls.
You can create a true monster in Dark Souls. And almost no matter what you do in Cyberpunk, your character's going to look kind of hot.
Most of the settings are just going towards like, that's a hot person that you've made.
Just like, that's a sexy cyber person.
I unfortunately made male V in this one when I started it. I've seen clips of female V and I'm like, God damn it, the voice actress is doing a lot better than male V did.
Sure.
Not that he's bad, but like she's just selling it a little bit more. Yeah. I think male V comes off a little like mean and like, I don't know, it doesn't happen as much with female V, but yeah, I wish I could change that. It's a little bit surprising to me that you can't do that more easily in Cyberpunk.
Change your sex?
Yeah, that seems like something that like in a world where you can get blades attached to your arms, I feel like changing sex would not be that challenging. You can, this is a critical piece of information. You can, when you finally unlock your like apartment and you can change your clothes, you can set an outfit that you always wear regardless of whatever you're equipping because like stats are attached to the like clothes at a certain point. And like, man, some of them look so fucking dumb. Like it just looked like an absolute tool in those things.
Yep.
So
just like so what, like wearing Yeezys or something like that?
No, like the one that broke my camel's back was like, I had these big like conservative Twitter profile picture, like glasses that go all around my head.
Like the Oakleys?
Yes, exactly. I had a pair of Oakleys on. A fedora, shorts, purple short shorts, and like a crop top. And like,
so were you an incel?
It was an incel who was trying out like the weirdest shit in his closet. And there's also V in the background who's like trying to look like a tough guy. And like not in a cool, I'm wearing a crop top and short shorts kind of way. Like this is just the clothes that I found on the street kind of way. And this is what I'm wearing right now. It wasn't cool and sexy. It was weird. And he looked uncomfortable in them. So I just like put him in a shirt that looked cool. And jeans.
Like, okay, I'll put you out of your misery, V. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, good character creator. I love that.
What about you, Chase? Is there anything fulfilling your sense of optimism for the week?
Yeah, it's a bad car, David. I love a bad car in a game.
You do love a good bad car.
I love racing those terrible, terrible cars. I don't like the Bugatti part of a racing game. I like when they give me the worst shit. Yeah. That's really nice because we're topping out at 50. And that's like it. It's really great.
So is there something about like the idea that there is more beyond this car that is enticing to you about it? It's like why a Bugatti is not fun. It's like, this is the top and I've finally caught the car. I'm a dog. I caught the car and now I don't know what to do with it. I
think that is partially it, that in the humble Civic is potential. Like you can tune it and make it really good, but it comes to you slow, right? Like it is a level 1 Dark Souls character, but you could get to level 20. And you could kick some ass. Like in any RPG, I'm always pretty thrilled when I out-level somebody and can just roll over them in any Pokemon or something like that, where I roll up to a gym and I'm like 10 levels higher. That's not a bad experience for me. I kind of like that.
Sure.
And so similar thing applies to racing, where like I could tune this and make it really fast and really good. But also I know what it feels like to drive a Civic in real life. And so it's kind of a thrill to be like, I'm racing the thing that I race or that I drive, you know?
Did you just admit to being a street racer, Chase?
I didn't say nothing. It's not on microphone.
What's your street race name? Let's hear it.
My street racer name?
Yeah. What's your handle?
Chast the Hedgehog is my street racing name.
Chast the Head? That just sounds like some weird Sonic porn where he's like strapped up or something.
Wow. Chast the Hedgehog, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll have to change my
you know?
Yeah, I'll have to go change my Instagram handle that has all the pictures of my cool cars.
Oh no.
To something cooler. What's your pitch for my street racing name, David?
Speedy Chibi.
Speedy Chibi. Oh yeah, strikes fear into the heart of my competitors. If you asked me, I would have said Speedy D. So it is interesting that we both landed on Speed E.
How about all gas? Chase all gas.
I'm cool with all gas, but it does make me sound like I have severe IBS.
Chase all speed.
Chase gas heart. Still farts.
Chase gas heart. Chase speed heart.
Speed heart I could get down with. That's something closer to cool.
Closer to cool.
Yeah.
The Chase Albee story.
Hey, do you want to move on to our main thing, David?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's good games. It's the segment where we talk about the okayest games of yesteryear and gush all the things that we love about them. The game's so nice, we recorded it twice, David.
Once again, we're back with
Magi Nation, the video game. We've already recorded this one, but Audacity said no. So
Sure did. Specifically to Chase.
Yeah, run it back, everybody. This one was suggested by listener Zeno. Thank you, Zeno, for this one. Mm-hmm. This was a fun game and one that I had literally never heard of until the very moment that they suggested it.
I had no clue it ever existed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's I think we talked about this last time, but the sales numbers were critically low. It sold
like
100,000 copies. Yeah, not much. So
it's nothing.
I'm not surprised that neither of us had really run into this one before. Seems like a bit of a deep cut, which I appreciate.
I wonder if this is like a collector's item game. I wonder how much a physical copy goes for.
David, I bet I can tell you right now.
Let's see it. Hot stats.
Here's a little preamble to the hot stats.
Hot stats origins.
This is Hot Stats Requiem. So an unopened copy of Magi Nation is on eBay, currently listed for $450.
Whoa. Okay, that's a lot of money.
It is. It is sealed, though, which is pretty surprising.
Like it's never, ever been opened.
Can I hit you with the real hot stats now, David?
Yes, please.
Cool.
Please.
Hot stats. Hot stats. So Magi Nation came out March 13th of 2001. I wrote that down, and I feel like last time I looked, that was not correct. Like when I was like just on the Wikipedia.
Uh-huh.
So it came out, in North America in 2001, in Japan for the Game Boy Advance in 2002. So there's a little bit of a delay between it coming out here because this was an American game release. It was developed in Seattle, we read last time.
That's right.
Down in Pioneer Square, they were making Magi Nation, which is pretty neat. I like that. Hometown heroes.
Neat.
Just for context, Pokemon Red came out in 1996, and then the GBA came out in 2003. So this is like kind of towards the end of the Game Boy Color's life cycle. Obviously, Pokemon was out, I think, not on Game Boy Color, but just sort of contextually to show you like where games were at as far as handheld development goes. It was then, which is wild. Like I think Halo came out in 2001 as well. So like it's a lot of wild stuff is going on.
Contemporaries are
out there.
Big names. Yeah.
This was made by Interactive Imagination, which we did sort of some off the cuff research when we were recording this last time. And I think this is also the group of people who made the card game. It seems like the same company made the tradable card game, which is what Magi Nation is or was originally. And they also seem to make the game, which is why there is also a very small amount of information about the people who made it. On the internet, Interactive Imagination, I cannot find that they made any other video games, so I think this is the only one.
They're actually the Illuminati.
So it's great. It's great. They're a cool company who is the Illuminati, and that's it.
And that's all we have to say about it.
That's all. Redacted. So, I think the only thing that I had noted was that there's this dude named Patrick Mahan who worked as a producer and director and Game Boy artist on this one that would eventually go on to work on things like Eastward, the game that came out in 2021. And I think he was involved in like the game engine part of that development. But other than that, the people who are listed on like the credits in Moby Games is where I'm pulling some of this information from. There are no other things. So either they had never worked on a game before or they didn't afterwards. So I think it was a lot of people who were new to the medium.
Yeah. Which I might as well take my hand at making a video game. Why not?
Fuck it. Which is so bizarre. It's hard to make a fucking video game. So I'm surprised that somebody or so many people with seemingly limited experience were able to do it.
They did a commendable job. If this was really their like just them cutting their teeth, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think the game itself is very bizarre and weird, which we can get into, but like a lot of it's pretty good. Like it's funny. And the music is really good, and the visuals are pretty good. Like
good,
it's good.
Is this the cousin of Krongus?
This is the cousin of Krongus. This is Krongus too. Good. I have a review from Gaming Target, a outlet that reviewed Magi Nation. There were very few reviews of Magi Nation, shockingly, and this is one of them. I have taken this review and mangled it with Google Translate. Running it from one language into another a number of times until eventually arriving back in English. So, with that, let's take a listen to what they had to say after I've destroyed it. Gaming Target said, Magi Joti is another minigame. This is better because customers are often invisible. Your problem is not a lack of experience. Your visual quality and music make up for it. Unfortunately, his mission, which involves collecting and fighting demons, is not an easy one. Magi is a great example of a Western RPG developer trying to take the 21st century RPG genre and make it into his image. 92 out of 100. I forgot there was so much Jesus in this one.
There was a lot there. I mean, it also checks out because the Magi reminds me of Bene Gesserit from Dune.
Whoa, David. Jesus.
And that's like the weird cult, or like not cult, but religious sect, isn't it? Right?
I think so. David, your recall is worlds ahead of mine, so I am willing to believe you with your lore knowledge.
I love me some lore. What can I say?
It's this like perfect combination of you enjoying lore and also being able to store it in your brain in a way that is also accessible. Like I have read through the entire, it's always there. I've read through so many wikis of like the entire story of a game, and like I have no memory of it. There's nothing in there. I cannot tell you what that game was about.
You know the la-le-lu-le-lo.
Listen, Metal Gear Solid, another question. I can recite everything about that. But like, I have read through all of the Halo wiki before. I couldn't tell you. I have no fucking clue.
And that lore is kind of a convoluted mess sometimes.
It is.
But it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It is cool. There was like a civil war at some point, I think, with like the Jackals and the Elites, which I wish I remembered more about. There it is.
Well, there's people who are actually big people earlier.
Giants.
People all used to be big like Master Chief.
Yeah.
And then they got genetically neutered.
Shrunk. Little guys.
Did you know that?
I sure didn't. I read it,
yeah.
I'm sure, and I don't remember it, David. Could you tell me what Magi Nation is, David?
Magi Nation is a top-down deck building, monster collecting RPG.
Let's go.
Turn-based RPG.
Yeah. I don't know why that one was so exciting.
You're like, let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of buzzwords for you, Chase. Let's be real here.
Card building, deck building is like, whoa. Okay. Now I like this.
All right. Yeah. So you are Tony Jones, aka Bony Phones. Wasn't that it?
Yeah. Whatever the joke was at the beginning of the game.
Phony Bones.
Phony Bones.
That's Phony Bones. Phony phones, phony bones. And you are essentially peer pressured into transporting yourself to an alternate dimension, which is quite an interesting way to get to an alternate dimension if there is even a normal way to get to an alternate dimension. Yeah,
your friends are like roasting you for not going into the alternate dimension. They don't realize it's that, but they're like, go into the cave, dude.
Yeah, and you do that because peer pressure. And then you are a young child in this like magic and monsters world.
Yeah.
And you get accosted by two orcs early on.
Yeah.
And get saved by a sexy wizard later. And yeah, you're going through, it's a coming of age story, really, mixed in with the ability to battle with monsters that are like stuck in these crystals in this world. And you can play 4 monsters against 4 monsters at once.
I think so. Yeah, that's how many cards are like available on the playing field.
Yeah, and you have some Yu-Gi-Oh elements to it too, as in you have to beat the monster that your opponent has, and then you attack them directly to win. And you can also do spells yourself as the player. So your monster can attack, and you can attack too if you got the points for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty fun. I enjoyed it. Do you have anything else to add to that?
Oh, yeah, I think that's a pretty good summarization of what it is. That's pretty much it. It is. I think the biggest thing I felt while playing it was Yu-Gi-Oh-ish, and also like Hearthstone-y. Reminds me of playing through Hearthstone. No,
absolutely. It has, that DNA is in there.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. I had never heard of this, and so it was fascinating to play like one of these games that is seemingly pretty well thought out. Like the game is well made, and so it's bizarre to go back and play something that's like that well crafted that I had never even heard of, and like mostly enjoy it. You had mentioned this when we recorded this last time, but like the game is pretty funny, which is shocking on a Game Boy.
It's cute and endearing.
Yeah, it's so hard to pull off humor in a lot of mediums, but I feel like games especially is pretty tough. And even in a game where it's not like voice acted, it's just text, and then you have to like be physically humorous in the like sprites that you have.
The sprites and like how quickly it switches between the two characters, right? So like you have to have the timing there.
Yeah.
Correct, which is interesting.
It's hard to do. Like I can't imagine that that's an easy thing to do, or like, especially if you're QA testing it or if you've seen it a million times, like how do you get the comedic timing of like when to switch to another text box right? That's tough.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, I think that was the first thing that was apparent to me was like, oh, this seems like the writing is pretty funny. Like there's somebody who is funny that is making this game.
Yeah, or at least someone, who enjoys, I mean, it's like, it's kid humor, right?
Yes,
where it's
definitely.
just like goofy and silly.
Yeah.
But it does that well, and it doesn't get obnoxious with it, which I think is impressive. It's always just enjoyable. It's fun.
That's true. It's pretty easy to be like kind of grating childish humor, like
Exactly.
there's a very fine line between like SpongeBob and something much worse,
What's SpongeBob and Dark SpongeBob? What's Dark SpongeBob?
It's Dark Souls. It's Dark SpongeBob.
Dark Souls.
Gosh. It's in the S SpongeBob Cinematic Universe, SCU.
The S3?
It's in the S3 program, the Selection for Solid Snake or Selection for Societal. What the fuck is it, S3?
Societal selection silliness.
S3,
System.
The Solid Snake Simulation. God damn that game.
That game, the last 2 hours of that game was
my God.
What the fuck is going like the plot was just like a ping pong ball going back and forth.
Yeah. Selection for Societal Sanity.
Yeah.
This video game. It's fun in that way. I think like the mechanics of the actual battling is pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of parts of Inscription that I think are really cool. Like the sort of like lane portion of that.
Uh-huh.
Inscription does more with it, but it just reminds me of like the 4 card layout sort of thing, which also I think just makes me appreciate Inscription a little bit more than I already had. I think it's pulling from a lot of different kinds of card games.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm happy to see that Yu-Gi-Oh has influenced more than just Yu-Gi-Oh, like
it's true.
I wasn't crazy about the show. I wasn't a big Yu-Gi head, but like,
well, when did Yu-Gi-Oh come out?
It was, I think, shortly after Pokemon. It was still kind of in that era of like Digimon and shit.
Like late 90s?
I think so.
1999.
Yeah. So I wasn't nuts about it, but I think the card game was pretty interesting. And they came out with like a lot of video games that did it pretty solid, which I appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was happy to see that like that made it out of that era, because I could easily have just, died there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like I think you were right to point out that this was very Pokemon-y in the collection aspect of it. Like you're collecting monsters and battling monsters and shit like that.
Yeah.
But it's not as physical, right? Like you just have them in these cards. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that there are games that took a different approach to that, especially having played a lot of I played Koromon this year, I played Temtem this year, which are all like so specifically like we would like to do the old style Pokemon, but better.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting to see when that was not taken as an assumption, when Pokemon's success wasn't taken as an assumption.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yes, we would also like to be the most successful media franchise of all time. We also want to do a Pokemon.
They weren't so ubiquitous at the time. The people were taking a swipe at the throne.
Yeah, not at all. And so like, it's cool to see that run with kind of different ideas of like, here's what collecting monsters could look like. Here's what collecting cards could look like. And I feel like it took a while for games to really like recoup and be like, yeah, we're still into card games in video games. Honestly, I think a lot of that was a UI problem. I feel like it's really tough to do card battlers on like a controller really well, It
just works so much better with a mouse and keyboard, or just a mouse, really. Just point and click and send things onto the board. It's just way easier.
Yeah.
It feels more natural.
Or on a touchscreen phone for Marvel Snap.
Dropping the Marvel Snap knowledge right now, huh?
God, David. They just started a new season. I'm all in there.
So what does that do? Just more things to unlock?
Yeah, there's like a big new card that they will introduce the season is every month. So like the beginning of every month, they'll start a new one.
Mm-hmm.
And this month is Silver Surfer, who I think he, on reveal, will give all other 3 cost cards plus 2 attack.
Whoa.
Which is a lot. And so you're seeing a lot more decks that are like built around only having 3 cost cards in them.
Mm-hmm.
Just shifting.
Play Silver Surfer at the end, just boom.
You could do Silver Surfer. You could toss Wong down before it, so your on reveal things happen twice.
Oh.
Or anything like that. So I like this game. I think it is very fun. I'm probably just going to watch like a playthrough of it. Like I was watching some like playthroughs of people doing this game, and like they're much faster at this game than I am. Like I was doing a lot of experimentation, trying to figure out like what exactly I need to do, and like, different like layouts and cards and shit like that. And somebody's just rolling through this game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably an easier time for me at this point.
Yeah, fair. I enjoy it. I don't feel the need to go and like play the whole thing.
I could totally see how if this was a game that I owned on the GBC, this would have been something I played a lot of.
This is very much a chase albie game, I think. This is Absolutely. A big chase game.
Like a great sense of world, good sense of place, a neat mechanic, obviously cards.
Fun music, lots of good music, I thought.
My goodness, the music in this game.
And they came hard on the music.
I would love to play you the music for the shop, David.
I love the shop music.
It goes so hard.
Oh, that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me so much of Shovel Knight.
Yes, yeah. Well, the music is really driving.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is pushing you in a way.
Absolutely.
So good. Like, what do you
That's
want
a great little John.
Oh, I think Quest was really good. This is like the most questy soundtrack I've ever heard. That's questing music.
That's good. Walking through some tall grass with my fur rock. And my Ugger.
Yeah. It's great.
I really does a good job.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Let me see. Let's get one more. What do you think here?
Mischief, villainy. There's a lot of good names.
Interested in Morag. This is bad guy music.
For sure. I see it.
Yeah, that's bad. That's bad guy music 101.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah. I am spooked.
I appreciate the slow layering.
Okay. Yeah, dude.
It just keeps going.
Yeah.
It goes hard.
Excuse me?
All right.
I was not expecting to listen to this much of it, to be honest. We suddenly got like blast beats in the background. I am so into this. We only got 5 seconds left. Where's this gonna go? Just sudden end.
That's amazing.
Wow.
That was so good.
Good music.
Morag.
You're right. It definitely sounds like Shovel Knight. Obviously, just like the palette, the I guess music palette,
the synthesizer they use.
Yeah, the sounds. Sound
the timbre.
Very, very Undertale-y to me too, which makes
Undertale
sense.
as well. Yeah, yeah. I didn't expect this game of all the like original games that had this type of music though to sound so advanced.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like again, for a team of people who seemingly didn't have a ton of game development experience, they kind of crushed it with their soundtrack.
Yeah, they did really well. There was someone in there who's like, I do this game company stuff, but I really had a degree in music composition.
Yeah, a lot of it's not just like this is the most basic shit you've ever heard. It's like there's some stuff going on in there.
There's definitely there's melody, counter melody,
some key changes. Yeah,
yep,
it's great, good stuff.
So good. Wow,
I'm into this game. I thought it was pretty good.
I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was silly. It was entertaining. It was it's just an easy play, and I really loved the guy who was Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, absolutely. The characters are pretty good in this game. I liked a lot of the like people they were introducing.
Yeah, definitely. It was a fun play. A fun play.
It's worth a try if any of those things sound interesting to you. I know that like the game visually does look kind of basic, especially like I think Game Boy Advanced games have aged so well. Like just the pixel art looks so damn good, but like
looks clean.
I think the Game Boy Color and Game Boy games, like some of them look okay, and I think this one's like right on the precipice of being just like gorgeous. Also, I think like this is one of those games that was almost certainly intended to be played on the resolution that the Game Boy Color had. And so by playing it on like a Steam Deck, it looks a little bit not like it's intended to.
Blown out.
Yeah, I think a lot of the pixel art is intended to be played at that resolution, so your brain kind of fills in the details rather than like, why does the orc look like that?
What is wrong with that poor orc?
Yeah, but still, I think it's a really fascinating game to play, especially if you like deck builders. I think there's a lot of fun deck building stuff here. It like takes a while. I will say the tutorial takes a while to like get into the game.
There's a lot to learn. A lot of text you have to read.
Which can be a little bit daunting, especially like trying to navigate a UI on a Game Boy Color, but it's still good, and I think it ends up paying off. Plus, during all of that, it's still funny and fun, which really, really helps. Mm-hmm. It's still very charming.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, charming is, I think, what this game does best.
Yeah, for sure. In a way that like a kid's cartoon can be, you know.
Absolutely, it's like playing a kids show, which is interesting because the kids show of this game came later, like 6 years or so later.
Yeah,
they actually made a show.
Very bizarre. I would have definitely expected it to be the inverse, that the show would come first. But
did the game come before the Pokemon show? I know the card game came first.
I think the card game was the first thing that came out with Pokemon. And I think the show was sort of after that.
And then the game?
I feel like the game may have come out really shortly before the show. The first Pokemon series comes out in English, 1998.
Okay.
And the Pokemon game, first one comes out 1996, February 1996 in Japan.
So, game first.
The game first. That's fascinating. That is not the answer I would have expected. Same year.
I'm surprised too, but yeah, it's interesting that that's what they started with.
Yeah.
Game company first, and then the show is just marketing.
But yeah, regardless, within the same sort of like couple of years, it's all hitting at the same time. Whereas, yeah, I think the Magi Nation show comes like a fair bit later. I feel like we saw that it was like in the mid 2000s was when it was running.
Took a while. Yeah, took a while.
Fun game though. I wonder if the show is any good.
I watched a little bit of it.
Oh, really?
It was fine. It wasn't bad. It was not, I would say, like super good. It was
you weren't crazy about it. Yeah,
it was fine. Yeah. It was perfect for good games.
Well, yeah. So hey, Zeno, thanks for your suggestion. This is a fun game. I liked this one.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for telling us about Magi Nation. A rare game.
My simple and clean feelings here. I feel like there's not a lot of complication with my feelings towards Magi Nation. Simple and clean is the
they
main
just
way.
Are.
And so the way you're making me feel tonight. Yeah.
You know? That's put a little Kingdom Hearts in there.
I had a really cursed thought the other day of.
What?
You know, we've been doing sort of a series on Metal Gear Solid, and our next one is 3, I think, that we'll eventually tackle. Do we just do Kingdom Hearts next?
Do we
God, dude.
It probably is the other game we talk about the most on here.
I think so. Like, I feel like that's sort of what drove our first choice to do the like Metal Gear Solid series was like we just talk about it all the fucking time. That like it makes sense.
I did just play 3 recently.
So maybe, yeah, you're good on that one.
I'm good on that one. We can do, I'd go back and play Kingdom Hearts 1. I think, aren't they all available on like the PlayStation?
I think so.
And like their Kingdom Hearts 1.234578.
Kingdom Hearts 3.14.
Remix, Redux,
Pi version.
For a Dream. Yes, exactly.
Maybe that eventually. Who knows?
If we're feeling wild one day, why not?
I know. Plus, like, I could totally just play. To do it to him one time. I could definitely just play through Kingdom Hearts. I feel like that's a game that I could just kind of poke at for a while.
Yeah, although there are some spots I remember getting frustratingly stuck in the first game especially.
Is there difficulty in that game? Could you turn the difficulty down?
I would never got stuck combat-wise. It was just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, for sure.
That happened quite a bit. And it still carried through to Kingdom Hearts 3. It was great. The real experience there.
Critical part of the game design. Authentic. Oh man, I want to play through the Colosseum again so badly. Oh man.
Can you do what childhood you did, Chase? Can you beat Sephiroth?
I forget if I did. I did in one of them. I don't think I did it in 1 and 2.
I feel like you beat the one that's like in the field, not in the Colosseum.
Yeah,
like you have to fight all those Heartless and then you can get to them or something like that.
I think so, which is 2. And so I think you might be right there. I don't know if I did it in the first one.
You weren't bloodied enough in Kingdom Hearts 1.
No.
You have to go level up a little bit.
Anyway, Magi Nation, good game.
Good game.
Hey, you know what we do in the outro. We're going to do it so quick and so right. If you want...
Should I time you?
Yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. Hey, if you want to get in contact with us, you can do that at podtimism.com. There you can find links to Twitter or our email or a place to listen to the podcast, or David's given me the wrap it up sign. Or you can see what games we've played, or if you want to suggest one, we can do that there. We will get to all of these, I promise. We do have some suggestions, which we will play all of them. So get ready, everybody. Mm-hmm. If you want to help with the podcast, you can do two things. One is to tell a friend, which is the probably more effective way to do it. Just like shouting it out on whatever sort of platform you prefer, or in person or whatever. It genuinely helps us grow. That is pretty much the only way I've seen it work. So yeah, that's the thing you can do. You can also leave a review on some sort of podcatcher, whether that's Appy Podcasts or Spotify or whatever. So there's that. Hey, Scout Out of the Week. Hi, Scout. Thank you, Scout. You've done such great work on our podcast art. If you want to see what kind of art she does, that is ko-fi.com/humblegoat. Check her out. Also, finally, listener, thank you for listening. We deeply appreciate you spending your minutes here with us, because there are a billion video game podcasts, but you chose to stay with this one right now. It's a lot of content out there. Yeah, really appreciate you hanging around and allowing us to try to be a bright spot on your day. So thank you. We genuinely very appreciate it. Do you have any gaming wisdom? Time.
1 minute and 33 seconds.
That feels about right. 90 seconds feels online.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's pretty good.
We could definitely trim the fat, but like that feels like a good pace.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah, in high school I used to run a 1 minute outro. It's no big deal.
God. I know, really slowed down in my old age.
Yeah, dude.
Just don't have the chops I used to.
My podcast knees aren't what they used to be.
Just start stumbling over my lips. They're just not in game shape.
David, do you have any gaming wisdom for us?
I mean, yeah, of course. Always back up. Always back it up.
Oh my God.
That's life advice right there. That's not even game advice. That's just life advice. Back it up.
Back up your fucking files, ma'am.
Back your stuff up. Probably my video game advice for the week is, the world is really tough right now, but it's not all that bad.
Huh. Interesting.
Compared to Cyberpunk.
Oh yeah, I mean, compared to Cyberpunk, it's wonderous, but it still sucks worse, a lot of shit, but it's not the hellscape that Cyberpunk is.
I guess my point being is that we were talking about how Cyberpunk is very much rooted in just looking at how terrible everything is.
Yeah.
Things are awful right now, but just try to still find those glimmers of good in things, and don't let just the Twitter sphere and all the mainstream media just amplify all the terrible things.
Or just play Final Fantasy VII if you want that explained to you in game form.
Ooh, there you go. Or Deus Ex Human Revolution.
Did they say that? I don't remember what that game was like saying.
You don't remember the end of the game?
Not at all.
Where the end of the game was pretty much the like news anchor who's like giving you all this information throughout the whole game is actually like this, and that she's like this out in the middle of the fucking ocean, and you have to go there and decide whether you like. You don't remember that?
Dude, I was so chud-like at that very moment in my gaming career.
That was a great ending. I loved it.
It was like, that was core I'm choosing Ashley as my romance era. That's what I'm saying.
That is strike 1 and 2 against you still, Chase.
I think that's
you were on thin ice now, my guy.
I was not interrogating video games in like what they were saying at all. I was just like, let me shoot mechanics, dude. Like, that's all I need.
Yeah, no, that game was saying that game, as you say, was capital S saying something. Might be worth a playback for you, Chase.
I think so. I liked it at the time, so why not?
It's a great game.
It's a great game. Hey, good night, gamers. I hope you have a really great rest of your day or night, or if this is the last thing you're listening to before you go to bed, sleep well. Have a good sleep. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Sweet dreams.
Nighty night.
Nobody's going to listen to the next episode. This is terrible. Goodbye.
See ya.